Well, how do you read, Piers? How do you read the danger zones and the information we're getting from Japan? Do you feel comfortable with it?
No. There still is very serious danger. Look, the first thing to understand is we have not had an announcement that all these reactors have been turned off. The reason is they cannot turn them off. In other words, they are actually now out of control. The question is, are we going to get nuclear runaway or not? Now, the nuclear runaway can be prevented by adequate neutron absorbers put in there into the reactor core, preferably, such as boron. Now, that has not been achieved. What we're told is that putting boron around in the containment vessel, yes, but as far as I can see, that alone could be insufficient. I'm not saying it is insufficient, but it could be insufficient, in which case there is still a risk of a major explosion unless we hear an announcement from the Japanese government that they have turned the reactors off.
Are these reactors literally nuclear bombs?
Every reactor is potentially a nuclear bomb. I mean, a reactor is a nuclear bomb in slow motion. And if it goes, then it can be a big problem. But of course, when it does go, it also goes off because all bits of it explode away from themselves. The main wind is across the Pacific, and in the course of crossing the Pacific towards the US of A, anything would be pretty well dissipated, but not necessarily entirely so. But you know, I don't want to overstate dangers, but I think there still are dangers.
And in the development of the earthquakes, you foresee them moving towards the west coast of the Americas?
Well, in terms of earthquake risk around the world, the west coast of America is a high risk area, but not the highest. The highest parts are Japan and bits of around Indonesia and also parts of New Zealand. But in the next 2 years, it is clear to us there is a heightened risk and there will actually be more serious earthquake occurrences. So the west coast of the USA in the coming 2 years is definitely under greater danger than it has been for decades.
It seems to me the last 10 years we've lived through more extremes than in the rest of our lifetimes. I mean, something is major is going on in our solar system. Can you put your finger on it?
Yes, we can, yes. It's a combination of solar effects and lunar modulation. And we're in the very interesting period of being between an odd and even solar cycle with a low average solar activity and sudden big hits of events on the sun which are making extreme solar flares and proton events as well, and those are causing the extreme weather events we've had, also with the lunar modulation blocking of the jet stream to give ongoing extreme situations such as flooding. So we've got a combination of extreme flooding and extreme storms, and there will be more of this, and generally speaking similar factors cause the earthquake, so there's going to be more of this for the next 2 years. Now, the last time this sort of thing happened at this level of seriousness was about 132 years ago in terms of the weather, but in terms of earthquakes it looks like, well, for various reasons, it's half that time, 66 years or so ago. So in the 1940s there was a lot of very extreme earthquakes as well, around 66 or so years ago, and we are in that type of situation again. Now, it's not clockwork, and we can't just take something from them and project it forwards, but certainly there's a kind of certain similarity of risk reappearing.
You know,
and we can make specific forecasts, certainly, of tropical storm events, but earthquakes, all we can talk about is a kind of risk in certain time periods.
You know, in a Shakespearean play, when the character is very agitated, you see storms happening behind them. You do.
Absolutely.
This is very much a Shakespearean. And I just wonder, you just mentioned the 40s, and we had the Second World War. I wonder if there's any correlation with human psychology and extreme events.
Well, I don't know. All I can say is I give full support to all the Arabs in North Africa and the Middle East fighting for democratic rights. Whether this is connected with solar events, I don't know. But certainly, maybe people's moods are affected by solar events. But I would say a thing to get clear about the current period is that the con merchants in the global warming brigade will be and have already been jumping up and down saying these earthquakes are something to do with man-made global warming. Now look, that is complete, utter nonsense, lies and trickery. And people that say that should be taken to task. And in my opinion, if there was a proper accountability revolution around the world, we'd have a crime of committing lies against humanity. And these people that put forward this nonsense would be called to account.
Thank you.